The adventure begins with a soldier named Percy, shown hunting deer deep inside the forest with his fellow soldiers. The challenge is simple: take down the deer as quickly as possible. Everyone knows Percy's aim is unmatched, and with a precise shot, he wins the game before anyone else. Many believe Percy will go far one day, but there's a catch. Unlike other soldiers, he's never won a single medal. At that time, a soldier's rank and worth were judged by the medals they earned. Later, at a party hosted by the army, Percy's wife and several other soldiers are present. But the whispers are all about him: how someone so skilled has no medals, no awards, nothing to show for his talent. The truth is, Percy's family background has left a stain on his name. His father was a notorious gambler and heavy drinker, and because of that, no one takes Percy seriously. Still, he's determined to prove himself and silence his critics, not realizing that a dangerous adventure is waiting for him. One day, his senior officer George calls him in and explains that there's a section of the Amazon rainforest, spanning between Bolivia and Brazil, that's neither mapped nor explored. Now, the two countries are locked in a dispute over who it belongs to. Both have asked the UK to investigate and make a decision, but before that can happen, someone has to explore the place. Rumors say it's filled with deadly viruses and even species that eat human flesh. George believes Percy is the only soldier capable of taking on this impossible mission. He promises that if Percy succeeds, his rank will skyrocket and he'll finally receive the recognition he deserves. That's exactly what Percy has been waiting for, so without hesitation, he accepts. His job isn't just to inspect the area, it's to uncover every mysterious element no one has ever explored. Percy rushes home to tell his wife, explaining that this mission is crucial for his career and reputation. She knows it's dangerous but supports him, knowing how much it means to him. Within days, Percy sets out on his dangerous journey, forgetting one crucial fact: no one who has ever gone there has returned. He travels toward the Amazon by ship, and during the voyage, he spots a strange man, Henry, watching him closely. Confronting him, Percy demands to know why he's being followed. Nervously, Henry admits that George sent him to keep an eye on Percy and report back regularly. He was there to help, but without revealing it. Though annoyed at first, Percy eventually relaxes. After hours on the ship, they transfer to a train that will take them deeper toward the forest. Along the way, Percy meets other companions who speak of a river running through the heart of the Amazon. Locals believe it's home to the most dangerous creatures ever known, some thought to be extinct, others never discovered by humans. Percy decides he'll explore the river in addition to the jungle. Eventually, Percy, Henry, and a few others reach a tribal village on the outskirts of the main rainforest. The tribe is in the middle of strange rituals, likely part of their culture. There they meet a man named Manly, who questions them about their plans. When he learns they're heading for the Forbidden Zone, where no one has ever returned from, Manly warns them not to go, claiming it's a place where even human bones vanish. But Percy insists he must go. This mission isn't just for his country, it's for himself. Impressed by Percy's determination, Manly finally agrees to help, arranging for some locals to guide them into the forbidden territory. Henry went to meet a local leader to recruit regional people for their expedition. But the leader warned him bluntly, they wouldn't come back alive from that place. Percy ignored the warnings and managed to gather a few locals to join their team. Soon, they were ready to enter the Forbidden Zone, traveling by a small boat that would take them straight through the middle of the river. After several hours, they reached the point where the Amazon rainforest officially began. That's when they noticed ripples in the water. Percy spotted a man sitting in another boat not far away, but when he called out, the man didn't respond. Suddenly, arrows flew out from the bushes, razor-sharp and deadly. One pierced straight through a soldier's body. The wounded soldier fell into the water, and Percy, along with the others, jumped in to escape the attack, unaware of what was lurking below. The river was swarming with piranhas, vicious predators drawn to the blood of their injured comrade. Within moments, they attacked, tearing him apart. Percy and the others scrambled back onto the boat, but the injured man was trapped in a net, unable to escape, and was devoured before their eyes. With one man dead, Percy and the rest pressed on. Manly, however, began acting strangely. Blood was coming from his mouth, a sign of an illness he wasn't telling anyone about. When Percy asked their local guide how long it would take to reach the forbidden area, the guide admitted it could take weeks. And now even he seemed terrified. He told Percy that while the forest might be rich in gold and treasures, those were just the bright side. No one talked about the deadly secrets hidden within. The group's fear grew, but Percy was determined to finish his mission. As night fell, they stopped on a patch of land, set up camp, and lit a fire, a smart move in the jungle to keep wild animals away. Around the fire, they shared personal stories. Percy learned from his comrade Costin that his wife had moved to another place and had given birth to another baby. The news left Percy feeling bittersweet. He should be with his wife, not deep in a deadly rainforest. He wondered if he'd ever make it back to see her again. Morning came, and they continued their journey. After many days, their food and water supplies ran dangerously low. Some soldiers began to lose hope, but Percy's determination never wavered. Finally, they reached their target, a massive waterfall in the heart of the Amazon. Overjoyed, they stepped onto solid ground. Their guide announced that his job ended there and turned back. Percy soon spotted a wild bear and shot it. Survival demanded it. As he explored the area, he discovered shards of broken clay pots buried in the dirt. They looked centuries old, clearly made by human hands. This confirmed what Percy suspected. While no one from the UK had ever been here, people had lived and survived deep within the Amazon for many years. By now, Percy had gathered a lot of valuable information, but due to a shortage of food and water, they were forced to return. When Percy re-entered the country, the British people gave him a warm welcome. In fact, they now hailed him as a brave explorer, and his reputation rose even higher. After all, he had returned alive from a place where no other Briton had ever set foot. Because of his courageous feat, a renowned explorer named James invited Percy to dinner at his home. James had read many of Percy's published articles and revealed that he, too, had once attempted research in the Amazon rainforest, but his team had failed. Now, James offered to sponsor Percy to map out all the unexplored regions of the Amazon and to prove whether an ancient tribe still lived there. Percy accepted the offer, insisting that no one should know about it until the mission was complete. The next day, Percy gathered an audience in a hall to share the results of his earlier expedition. He explained that the Amazon rainforest hid countless secrets, among them, a possible ancient city where treasures might still lie buried underground. Showing shards of broken clay pots, he suggested that an ancient tribe, perhaps even the direct ancestors of modern humans, could have lived there. Discovering them could unlock a new chapter in human history, revealing extraordinary details about our origins. But not everyone believed him. Many thought Percy had gone mad, spreading lies to gain fame. Some even accused him of never having entered the Amazon at all, claiming he had turned back halfway and fabricated the entire story to boost his career. The criticism cut deeply, and Percy took it as a challenge. He vowed to prove every word he had said by finding the lost city overflowing with treasure and uncovering the truth about the ancient tribe. Most people still didn't believe him, but Costin stood by his side, as did James, Manly, and several soldiers, all ready to join him on the mission. When Percy told his wife about the new expedition, she was furious. Their family was growing, yet he refused to stay home. She even offered to join him, saying she knew a bit about navigation and could help, but Percy refused, warning her that the forest was too dangerous and she would only be a liability. The argument escalated, but Percy had already made up his mind. He was going. The next day, Percy set out with his team, which included Manly, Costin, James, Murray, and several others, people who believed in him and had decided to follow him through every risk. They traveled first by boat to the same spot Percy had explored on his last journey. He knew the route well. Upon nearing the shore, a sudden volley of arrows flew toward them. Fear spread quickly among the group, but Percy guessed it was likely the nearby tribe. He immediately calmed his companions, ordering them not to fire back. Fighting would only provoke more attacks. Instead, Percy carefully approached the tribespeople, even singing a peaceful song to ease tensions. Slowly, the aggression faded, and the tribe ceased their attack. Cautiously, Percy moved closer to speak with them. Murray, the heavy-set man in the group, tried to stop him, warning that the tribespeople wouldn't understand him. But Percy's respectful approach worked, and the tribesmen allowed them into their village. Inside, Percy met the tribe's chief, while Murray and others grew uneasy. Murray had realized these tribesmen were cannibals, eating both humans and animals alike. He refused to go any farther and stayed behind at the boat. Percy pressed on, meeting with the chief and asking about the lost city said to hold vast treasures. The chief admitted he had heard of such a place but claimed no one from his own people had ever been there. If Percy wanted answers, he would have to seek out the more ancient tribes that lived even deeper in the forest, high up in the mountains. The chief explained that the higher they climbed, the more likely they were to find these older tribes, and perhaps they could lead him to the treasure. With this vital information, Percy now knew the path he needed to take to continue his quest. The chief gave them directions, and after getting some rest, Percy and his companions set out for the location. Murray kept insisting they should turn back. He was terrified. Everyone got back into the boat, assuming the way ahead would be safe. Murray had nearly finished all the food, leaving supplies for only a few more days. Even in such a dangerous place, Murray was being careless. As they moved forward, the river current grew stronger. Percy warned Murray not to move too much since he was standing at the edge of the boat and disrupting its balance. But Murray wouldn't listen and kept shifting around. Suddenly, a backpack filled with food supplies fell into the water, and in the commotion, Manly also fell in. Murray was left clinging to the boat, tilting it dangerously. Eventually, Manly and Murray managed to reach the shore together, and Percy brought the boat in. He was furious with Murray, who had also been bitten multiple times on the leg by piranhas. In this condition, Murray couldn't travel with them, and they needed to treat him immediately to prevent infection. Because of Murray's carelessness, Percy's mission, which had been going smoothly, had to be stopped. All their food supplies were gone, and Percy doubted they could continue. He couldn't leave Murray alone in such a state. So, Percy, along with Manly and Costin, decided to seek help from a nearby tribe, get some food supplies, and return home. His entire plan had been ruined, entirely because of Murray. Back home, Percy reunited with his youngest son. He had barely spent time with his children, always away on expeditions. Later, he attended a Royal Geographical Society meeting to explain what had happened. Percy told the head members they had been right on schedule until Murray's carelessness forced them to stop. The food had run out, and one team member was injured. Continuing would have been too slow and dangerous. But Murray, present at the meeting, contradicted him. He told the head members Percy had no plan and that their findings couldn't prove the ancient city still existed, essentially calling Percy a liar. Costin and Manly sided with Percy, explaining that Murray had been completely inattentive to the mission and was responsible for ending it early. Still, because Murray himself was one of the head members, his word carried weight. He even demanded Percy apologize for the failure, but Percy refused and, in his stubbornness, resigned from the society altogether. Returning home to his wife and son, Percy soon received a letter from the military inviting him to serve in an upcoming war. Without hesitation, Percy agreed. It was his duty to his country. His eldest son, Jack, was furious, accusing him of never giving the family time and of never finishing any exploration. In anger, Percy slapped him, though Jack's mother later explained to him that exploration was his father's destiny. Despite feeling defeated inside, Percy joined the army and fought in the war for months until their forces were close to victory. Then, he learned that Murray, the same man who ruined his mission, had once again gone into the forest with companions to search for the lost city but gave up shortly afterward. This meant Murray secretly believed it existed. One day at Percy's camp, an old woman who claimed to read people's futures told him that he carried a regret that would never leave until he fulfilled it, clearly referring to his unfinished exploration. The next day, their final attack on the enemy was planned. Percy inspired his soldiers to fight for their families and country, even if it meant death. Moments later, the battle began, but Percy was shot and severely wounded. He was rushed to the medical camp and eventually transported back home. Percy had suffered a severe injury to his eye, and the doctors feared he might never see properly again. However, they told his wife that all he needed was rest. From that point on, Percy could neither serve in the army nor continue his explorations. In a way, it felt like a full stop had been placed on his life. That deep regret inside him would likely never go away. Still, Percy never imagined that one day he would uncover secrets no one had ever explored before. Years later, Percy retired. Many interviewers came to ask about his life, and one journalist questioned him about why he had stopped exploring. Percy's simple answer was that he had decided to stay with his family. His health had deteriorated to the point where he didn't want to go anywhere. But the journalist reminded him that his expeditions had inspired countless young people. In fact, there were now many expeditions into the Amazon, including one recently funded by a doctor, aiming to find the very same ancient city of treasure Percy had once set out to discover. For a moment, Percy felt tempted to join the search. But now, his entire world revolved around his family. Meanwhile, in the forest, his son Jack was practicing hunting deer. Percy approached him and handed him a locket he had found many years ago in a tribal village deep in the jungle. Jack asked his father whether he still believed the lost city existed, and if so, why no one had ever reached it. Percy, with a hint of sadness, admitted that it had been his dream to explore that place, but now he was bound by family life. Knowing his father's unfulfilled dreams, Jack tried to convince him to join him on an expedition into the Amazon to search for the lost city of gold. Curiosity began to stir in Percy's heart again. He knew that if he didn't try one last time, he would live with regret forever. Jack asked his mother for permission to go with his father. She initially refused, but Jack managed to persuade her. Soon, Percy and Jack introduced themselves at the Royal Geographical Society and re-established a new mission to find the lost city. Percy even called his old friend Costin, who at first refused because he had become a family man with a wife and children. but after seeing Percy's determination, Costin agreed to join. The society approved the expedition and promised to fund it. With renewed energy, Percy, Jack, and several other explorers set out for the Amazon. The paths Percy had once traveled were crossed with ease. Along the way, he shared his knowledge with Jack, teaching him how to explore successfully. For days, they traveled by water until they encountered the same tribe that had helped Percy years before. The tribe welcomed them warmly, and even the chief recognized Percy. Jack, witnessing all of this, began to realize how much his father had achieved, even without reaching the lost city. Guided by the tribe, they pushed toward a region believed to be inhabited by an ancient tribe, possibly ancestors of modern humans, who might know the secret of the lost city. But before they could advance, most of Percy's team backed out. Determined, Percy continued with Jack alone. Nearing the area, they encountered another tribe unlike any they had seen before. These tribesmen surrounded them, and Percy and Jack stood completely still, knowing that any wrong move could cost their lives. The tribe captured them and took them to their village. Their faces looked almost ape-like, as if they were still in the process of evolving. Percy couldn't tell whether they would be spared. He told Jack that no matter what happened, finding this ancient tribe was already their greatest discovery. Jack was terrified, unsure of their fate. The tribesmen made them drink a strange liquid and began performing a ritual. Then, they carried Percy and Jack to a place that glittered with a golden shine. It looked like an enormous treasure. Suddenly, the scene faded to black. Years passed, but Percy and Jack never returned. Percy's wife went to the society's head members to ask if there had been any news. Despite extensive searches, nothing was found. The head suggested she stop hoping. Perhaps Percy and Jack had found the lost city of gold and chosen never to return, or perhaps the tribe had killed them. She then handed over a compass Percy had given her before leaving, knowing full well that if he went this time, he might never come back. As technology advanced, more explorers ventured into the Amazon. Many discovered ancient artifacts that only evolved humans could have made. But the path to the lost city of gold remained elusive. And so, our story ends in suspense.